Welcome to the Shane Show. To wait for a few more people to get online here. Welcome to the Shane Show, everyone, with yours truly, Big Daddy Hugs of Hugs Astrology. I'm going to invite you to join me at my Facebook group, Hugs Astrology. That's with a Z. And I share everything astro-related in that group, trying to spread the message that there is an esoteric way of living that science supports. And you might not agree with me, and that's okay, because in this world not everyone's going to agree with everyone. But having spent well over a decade now studying astrology, I can assure you that if you take the time and give it just a little bit of attention, you'll find it is a legit thing. It's not going to compel you to do anything. The planets never compel. It's important you realize the planets impel, okay? What that means is there's a good day to do things. Now you can still do something if it's not a good day to do it, you just might not have quite the successful results you were hoping for, right? That's all. So thank you for joining me, folks. I appreciate it. And we're going to just do not a very long live today. It's been a while. This is my first live of 2020. Thank you for joining me. If you're watching this now or later, your support is appreciated and noticed. And so I bow to you for your energy that you're sending me right now. So today we're going to talk a little bit about. We are living in incredible times. Right now in the planets, there are 5 planets in Capricorn. That's a very rare occurrence, folks. In fact, you'll never see this line up again in your lifetime. So, it's something worth talking about. What does it mean? What is Capricorn, and what is 5 planets doing in there, doing to you, to me, to everybody? I mean, I see it. It's happening all around, but as it says in the Bible, for he who has eyes to see, right? And not everybody has the eyes to see, but I do thank you and so I'm going to give you just a synthesis of everything that I've learned about where we're at right now and what it means to you. Capricorn. Capricorn it's an earth sign, first and foremost. And in astrology, earth signs are the practical signs of the zodiac. They're the solid, dependable energies of the zodiac. Capricorn specifically, the nickname for the Capricorn is the General. Why? Well, the reason why is because Capricorns are the sign most likely to suffer from workaholism. They're workaholics. And if you know a Capricorn, you'll know that they're very, very determined individuals. They will work harder than any other sign. And for that reason, they generally end up at the top of the food chain, and therefore, they get called the General because they're usually in charge. They're ruled by Saturn. Saturn is known as the taskmaster of the zodiac. Known as a great saw blade. Okay, so what does Saturn do? Saturn, when it comes through a particular area of your chart, it cuts off all the excess fat. I know sometimes in life we get a little bit too much stuff, a little bit too much of this or that. And Saturn will come through that space in your life, and it'll just be like, well, no, you don't need this, you don't need that. And, as humans, we have a hard time sometimes detaching from things, right? And so it's not necessarily always an easy transit, but it's definitely one you'll notice. Now, just having 5 planets there is one thing, but it's the what planets are there that makes this such a big deal, okay? I've been studying astrology for, like I said, a very, very long time, and I've never seen. I mean, the astrologers that I've been watching, they've been talking about this year, 2020, and the astrological alignments that are occurring for as long as I can remember. It's been this year that we just know something big is gonna go down, right? And we're seeing it. I mean, we're at 5 days into it. We got one country on fire, possibly World War III, and all this stuff happening. Folks, this is astrology, right? This is astrology in action. You have a front row seat to the greatest astrological alignment of your lifetime. And unfortunately, it's come to my awareness, thanks to my brother. Shout out to my amazing brother Sean, who, that song that introed this, that's all him, man. That guy's a bloody musical genius. And I encourage you to check out his YouTube channel for all his great stuff. But unfortunately, most people don't even know. They have no clue what they're witnessing and how important and amazing this moment in time is. So I'm celebrating with a Cuban. I talked a little bit about, over abstractly what's happening. Let me get a little bit more specific. Pluto, Saturn. Right now we have 5 planets. So we got the Sun, we've got the Mercury, we've got Jupiter, Uranus. No, not Uranus. Saturn and Pluto. Now Saturn, Pluto, and Jupiter, those are what we call the big, hard-hitting planets. They're outer planets. They're not personal planets. They're slower-moving planets. And because of that, we generally feel their effects more collectively and less individually. All right? Whenever you get 3 or more planets anywhere in one sign in astrology, it's called a stellium. And it's a rare occurrence. 5 is extremely rare. But when we do get them, it's typically the inner planets. Because they move faster, they generally line up and meet each other more often. It's very rare for Pluto and Neptune, or Pluto and Saturn and Jupiter to come together like this. And so, what does it mean? That's what you want to know, right? I mean, you're sitting there like, okay, yeah, he's talking about all this stuff, makes no sense. What does it mean? It means it's impossible to ignore the effects right now. When you have 12 planets and they're all in different places, sometimes it's, a little challenging to maybe notice the energy, okay? But even a blind person who's, and I say that blind to the energies, even those people are looking around saying, you know what? 2020 ain't no normal year. This stuff ain't normal, Countries just don't catch on fire collectively. World War IIIs don't just happen all the time. And I don't think it's going to be a World War III. It's being way overblown by the media and overhyped. So, and the reason for that is because, of course, as we know, fear is a powerful thing, and they use that to control us, right? So if they can make us fearful, then they have a little bit more measure of control over us, and that's the name of the game for them. So in 1982, which was the last time that Saturn and Pluto came together, it was a pretty big deal. If you remember back in I don't remember back in 1982 because I was in diapers, but if you look at history and you look back at 1982 and you look at the financial turmoil that was going on and you look at the world and the way things were, this is where we're at today. But it's way more intense than that because we've now got Jupiter. And what is Jupiter? Jupiter it's the great benefic. I mean, it takes whatever it touches and it expands, So You've got Saturn there cutting and chopping, and you've got Pluto. What is Pluto? Pluto's that great big grenade, just blows up. And then you've got Jupiter, which is expanding everything. You've got Mercury there, which is everyone's thinking about it. And then the sun, it's right there in front of us, folks. And it's pretty hard to ignore. So it's important that you realize that you're living in times that are very rare. And it's kind of like this cigar, you know. This is a Cuban cigar. This was not a cheap cigar. It's a very rare cigar. It's hard to get in some parts of the world, and there's a reason for it. It's freaking amazingly delicious, and it went out on me. But I enjoy a good cigar once in a while. It's kind of like a fine wine. If you get a really good one, you want to savor it. And so that's my message to you, is to savor these moments and to utilize them, because astrology is like the weather, okay? So I like to explain this to people that don't really get astrology. I say, you know, I used to be a door-to-door salesman, and if it rained, I still had to go out and go door-to-door. But checking the weather forecast prior to going out allowed me to take an umbrella and dress appropriately. Didn't affect that I had to go do what I had to do, but it made being forewarned and being forearmed made it a little easier. It kind of greased the wheels a little bit, and that's why I love astrology, because it allows you to grease the wheels of your life if you know how to do it. And that's why astrologers exist, because they've spent their lifetime in a lot of cases studying this, and they can give you all of that synthesized down in a little 5-10 minute you know, a bit of information that can just allow you to avoid a lot of challenges in life. So if you've been feeling serious lately, if you've been feeling like working a little bit too much, burnout is something that a lot of people are going through right now. People are just obsessively working harder than they've ever worked, and they might not know why, but it's because the planets are, you know, forcing us down that path right now. If you're tuned in at all to what's happening, work. You know, that song Britney has, Work Bitch. That's the song for right now. Because if you put in the effort, you are going to notice dramatic shifts in your life. The energies support it. It's like a big of air coming from the divine, that if you can get your sail just adjusted properly, then away you go. Way out in front of everyone else. Okay? But if you don't know what's going on, if you're not aware of that, you might be not able to properly take advantage of it. So 5 planets in Capricorn, well, I can't give you all the knowledge I have today, but what I would suggest that you do is Google it, YouTube it. You know, that's how most of us learn. Go on YouTube and type in, you know, Capricorn, type in and read a little bit about it. Because it's all over the place right now. It's happening right now, and Capricorn means something different to every sign, okay? And it's going to affect all of you differently, but find out your ascendant, which is easy to do. Cafe Astrology, Astro Charts. There's all kinds of free sites online. Type in your date of birth, place of birth, boom. It will tell you your ascendant sign, okay? That's your rising sign, and that's where the houses start. And so this Capricorn stuff is going through a house. There's 12 houses, and every house means a different part of your life. So whatever house that Capricorn is in for you right now is blowing up. I mean, you can't ignore it. Okay, I'll tell you a little quick example of this that happened to me this week. I was in to see a lady who was a Cancer rising. And so from a Cancer perspective, Capricorn is their 7th house. The 7th house is relationships, partnerships, okay? 5 planets in her relationship sign, and guess who is 2 months single out of a 24-year marriage, right? I mean, you can't, this stuff doesn't write itself. It's right there for you, folks. It's all around you. So if you're a Cancer rising, I tell you right now, go find out, you're having relationship issues. There's no way, there's not. Maybe you're an Aquarius, okay? What, if you're an Aquarius rising, I've got family members that are Aquarius rising, both my sisters are. Well, Capricorn is the sign just prior to Aquarius, which makes it the 12th house. 12th house energy is, well, it's spiritual, it's esoteric, it's a great time to meditate. It can be a challenging time if you're not dealing with stuff in life, because the universe tends to force it upon your plate. The stuff that you've been kicking under the couch or under the mattress type thing. It's like, no, you got to deal with it now. And if you don't want to, too bad. It's not going to be fun. But if you find a quiet place, meditate and deal with it, it can be a wonderful experience. So depending on which your rising sign is, your rising sign is so important. I mean, when it comes to astrology, there's all the different stuff, but finding out your rising sign is probably the most important thing you can do. So please do that. If you need any help in that regard and understanding it, look, I'm here to help you guys out. That's my job. That's what I want to do, is share some of my wisdom with you. You know, a decade of studying this stuff, it's up here, and it's something that I use every day, and I see it happening time and time again. So why not share that, right? That's what this is. We're all here to help each other in our own ways. And it's that time in our lives where, you know, it's time to step up and be your true authentic self. And this is what the times support. The times support being on purpose, being practical, being disciplined, being pragmatic. Okay, all Capricorn themes. And if you're fighting all of this, if you're trying to sit on a beach and drink a tequila or a margarita right now, it's not going to be the most relaxing experience for you, because you're going to be thinking about that business that you have at home that you should be working on, or you're going to have employees calling you, or you're going to have stuff. You're going to want to be working. It'd be really hard. I would not suggest you take a vacation right now. It's not an ideal time to be sitting on your butt not doing something, okay? It's time to hustle. That's what it is. It's time to hustle. So hustle. Get out there and hustle. That's general. More specifically, it goes from your rising sign. So finding out your rising sign and then counting past that to wherever Capricorn falls. So if you're a Libra rising like myself, home and family. It's all about the home. It's all about the family area. If you're a Scorpio, okay, it's going to be your third house. It's going to be about your friends and your siblings, you know. If you're a Sagittarius rising, it's going to be in your second house. It's going to be about making money and your income and your job, right? So you got 5 planets in your second house, man. You're hustling. I mean, you're making some money right now. So if you know a Sag rising, you watch their bank accounts are going to go, right? Because they're feeling it. They're definitely feeling it. On top of all of this, we have coming up in 5 days a lunar eclipse and a full moon in Cancer. I mean, this is a big deal, folks. I mean, 5 days from now, I mean, you're probably already feeling it. I'm feeling it. We're all feeling it. How do I know that I'm feeling it? Well, Cancer for me is on my midheaven, 10th house. It's how I project myself out to the world, and here I am doing my first live, getting ready. If I feel that, I feel like I have to do it now. But Cancer, the opposite of Capricorn, you're going to have a lunar eclipse, full moon, opposite of 5 planets, right? So it's like a tug of war. You got the moon on one side, and an eclipse, and you got 5 planets on the other side, and they're kind of going at each other, right? They're pulling back and forth, and so you're going to have a tug of war between your emotions, which is the moon, and your mind, which is Mercury, which is over here in Capricorn, and Saturn and Jupiter and Pluto, all over there on Capricorn. But your emotions are all fired up because, I mean, let's face it, Cancer is emotions. It's a water sign. It's an emotional sign. If you know Cancer, you know they're fairly emotional, okay? Even if they have a Cancer moon like myself, or a Cancer rising, or Cancer Mercury, whatever it is, that's an emotional, empathetic, energy, you know, intuitive, very, very much a way of describing a Cancer. So it's a great time to, you know, meditate for sure on this eclipse. You might want to do some kind of a ceremony. There's lots of stuff online on that, little things you can do to kind of take advantage of these energies, because this is a once in a lifetime eclipse for you. Not taking advantage of it, I mean, you don't have to, but I would suggest you do, because if you're watching this and you're hearing what I'm saying, it's the equivalent to knowing the Patriots were going to lose last night. You could have made a lot of money by making that bet if you have that inside information, right? So I'm giving you a little bit of inside information. I'm giving you 5 days to get on the internet and learn a little bit, enough that you can take advantage of this, because it's just, what a time to be alive, Like, I just cannot get over that we're living in this time right now. We just had Mars go into Sagittarius. Okay, here's another proof of astrology for you. This will blow your mind. I'm going to hold on to that thought for a second. Mars, Sagittarius. Man, this is... If you know a Sag, they're feeling this one. The image that we associate with Sagittarius is the archer, right? It's the only sign that features a weapon in the image. Mars, the planet of war and aggression, that red fiery energy. And Sagittarius with its archer, with its shooting. And the day, literally like almost the day that Mars goes into Sagittarius, there's a missile fired at a particular individual in Iraq that literally has blown up the whole freaking world. I mean, you can't get on Facebook or social media without hearing about what's happening in Iran right now. And it all can be traced back to Mars entering Sagittarius. Isn't that something? I mean, like I said, it's like we're in a play. It's kind of scripted to a point. Now, we have freedom inside that script, but we still got to play by the weather. The weather is the weather, and we're in the weather, so we have to, move and flow with it, right? This goes back to the Lao Tzu concept of the earth is ruled by letting things take their course. So if you know where the universe is right now and what it supports, then you can just go with that flow, right? Sitting on a beach right now is not going with the flow, all right? That is more of a Cancer energy. That is more of a summertime, chill kind of, relaxing kind of time. This is not that time. This is a hustle, get up at 5, work till midnight, take advantage of this and get stuff done, right? Because your whole future will be determined upon your actions this year, whether you realize it or not. That's the case, okay? So Mars and Sag, Sag is ruled by Jupiter, so Sag is a very big picture thinker. Sag sees the big picture, all right? They're not, detail-oriented people. They're a big picture. And having Mars there is giving you the ability to see the big picture, which is what I'm trying to convey to you right now. The big picture of how this can really impact you, and it's impacting all of us. In essence, it's undeniable. You've got till the 16th, all right? And on the 16th, Mercury will be leaving Capricorn, and it won't be quite as strong. It'll still be strong because you've got Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto there all year. For the most part, there'll be some retrogrades and stuff like that, but for the most part, you've got this here all year, and it's being kicked off with this eclipse next week. So, or this week, I guess. So get ready for it, folks. Friday's coming, and when Friday gets here and that eclipse happens, it'll be undeniable. It's going to be an exciting week. So I just wanted to do a very quick, I guess it hasn't been that quick, but a little bit of a quick kind of energy update talking about this. Iran is happening. We're in the midst of crazy times. I don't know that the energies necessarily support a world war, so I don't think that's where we're going. I think that's just being hyped by the media to try to control us with fear porn, that type of thing. But we are definitely feeling it. So check your chart, look at what your rising sign is, count a Capricorn from that, and that's the house that this is hitting. And whatever house this is hitting, you're feeling it. And you know why I love astrology so much? What really gets me hooked on it and kept me hooked on it is I used to think I was crazy. And maybe you do too occasionally, because there would be days that I'd be so freaking depressed, and I'm not a depressed guy. I'm a very positive person. There'd be days I'd be, a little out of sorts, and then once I got into astrology, it all started to make sense. There are days when the universe supports us, specifically 12th house transits, being more private, being more alone, being a little bit. And then if we fight that, let's just say we try to go out on a 12th house transit and do a live per se, it might not go so well. It might not feel natural. It might feel like a shoe that doesn't quite fit, because the energies of the universe aren't really supporting promoting yourself right now. It's not an outward kind of energy, it's an inward energy. It's a good time to go meditate in private and maybe read a spiritual text of some sort. That's what a 12th house transit is used for properly. However, that being said, there's also first house transits. That's a good time to do a live. That's a good time to promote yourself, right? So knowing this makes all the difference. Your life gets easier with astrology. That's why people pay astrologers thousands of dollars. Lastly, I'm going to talk a little bit about Uranus, because Uranus is going direct this week. And Uranus is a pretty powerful planet. It's, again, one of the outer planets. So, and it's been retrograde for the last few months. And what that means, it means that from our vantage point on Earth, it looks like it's going backwards. It's not. It's not going backwards. Planets never go backwards. We know that. But if you've ever had the experience of being stopped at a stoplight, the light goes green, and you're sitting there, and the car beside you starts to move forward, and for a second it might feel like you're going backwards. That's a retrograde motion. And basically what happens is all the energies become reversed and internalized. So Uranus, it's a very eclectic planet, and when it hits somewheres, you feel it. You can't predict Uranus because it's the most unpredictable planet. So I'm not going to tell you how it's going to manifest, but I will say, being in Taurus, an Earth sign, you see earthquakes, and we're seeing earthquakes. There was a 6.0 last night in Puerto Rico. That's very indicative of having Uranus in an Earth sign. Taurus is money, so the stock markets are fairly erratic right now. Uranus going direct, when a planet stops its retrograde motion and then starts to move forward again, at least from our perception, like I said, it's more powerful, it's more potent. So the energies are very noticeable, and generally we'll see that happening. So it wouldn't be a bad idea to take a look at Taurus, because right now the moon's in Taurus, we've got Uranus in Taurus, so there's 2 planets in Taurus, so that's a lot of Earth if you think about it. That's 7 planets in Earth. Earth, again, what is Earth? It's practical, determined, hard-working kind of energy. They don't take shortcuts. They do it. They work. The hardest working signs of the zodiac are the Earth signs. Now, the thing to understand about astrology is you're not just one sign, okay? Some people are, but it's very rare. Yeah, 7's my favorite number as well, Tanya. In fact, it's been very prominent in my life. 7 planets in Earth, what does it mean? It means that we're all supposed to be practical. This is not a time for risky, speculative investments. This is not a time to be overanalyzing things. This is not a time to be asking yourself, how do I feel about this? This is a time to do it. There's a time for action, and this is the action time of your life. This is the action time of 2020. Not at no point in the rest of the 12 months of this year are you going to find planets lining up to support you to take action on something like you will right now. I'm just going to pause because that's important you hear that. If you're thinking to yourself, well, I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait till I lose 10 pounds, or I'm going to wait till I have a few more bucks in the bank, or I'm going to wait till I have, the kids off of school, or not. Do it now. Do it now. One of my favorite quotes from Tony Robbins, is never leave the space of a decision without taking some action towards it. Because a thought is just a thought. It's not really real. It's not until you take action on that thought that it starts to manifest in your reality. So if you want manifestations to happen this year, you need to get acting on stuff. And it isn't going to just happen either, right? Because Capricorn isn't the energy of quick results. It's the energy of blood, sweat, work. You put the time in. You don't take shortcuts with Capricorn. You just figure it out, and you do every single thing you're supposed to do. And at the end of the day, it's a house built on a rock. Okay? Sometimes the planets support flying by the seat of our pants, so to speak. This is not that time. Okay? This is a time to work. Work as hard as you can, but also understanding that, you do need to take breaks. Okay? I'm not suggesting that all of you just go out and work yourself to death. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is, if you're feeling like working hard, if there's something in your life that that I know 2020 is the year I'm supposed to do this, just do it. Just do it now. Don't wait next week. Don't wait 2 weeks from now. Do some small thing towards that right now, today. Just do it. It doesn't have to be the big thing, but, the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. So today's your notice from the universe to take that step and move forward in the direction of your dreams. Any questions? If you do have questions and you're watching, put them up there. I'm watching. I'll try to answer them. So we got the full moon lunar eclipse on the 10th. Saturn-Pluto conjunction on the 12th. So this weekend, folks. This weekend. This weekend will go down in history as one of the most epic weekends of our lives. And I'm not sure how it's going to manifest, because that's where free will comes in. Collectively, we will manifest it however we choose, individually and collectively. But something is going to manifest, because Earth is something you can put your hands in, right? You can't put your hands in fire. There's 5 planets in fire, you can't put your hands in them. Water, air, you can't put your hands are all a guess, but you can't really feel it, right? Earth it's practical. Let's do something. Make it real in your life somehow. And just because you identify with a particular belief system, I was raised Christian, and I'm still partly Christian. I don't know if you can be partly Christian, but I don't think that Christianity and astrology are opposing each other in any way. I think they work together. They were designed to work together, and if you use them that way, you'll have better results. Whenever I'm talking to fundamentalist Christians that might have some hesitancy around astrology and the stars, I simply ask them, how did the 3 wise men find Jesus? I mean, if it wasn't for the stars and people that read the stars, Christianity wouldn't exist, folks. Think about that for a second. That's that side of things. And on a more practical, obvious way of looking at it. The moon, when it's full, we see the effects on the planet, right? I mean, the tides go up, emergency rooms get crazy, psych wards go insane, police are busier, everything just gets. I liken a full moon to a balloon, you know, like the 3 to 5 days leading up to a full moon, you'll just feel this balloon just getting bigger and bigger until at the peak of the full moon, it just feels like that balloon can't hold any more air. It's just about ready to pop. And you'll just feel like a buzzing, like an electricity all over your body during a full moon. And some people they're not aware that that's what it is. And they're like, I got all this, I got to calm down. What do? They go get drunk. Well, that is the worst thing you can do during a full moon. Look, I've been around people drinking during full moons. One time I went to a house during a full moon to have a couple drinks with somebody, and I'm going to leave it all nameless, but I'll just say that my intuition said don't go. It's a full moon. And I even said to myself and verbally to the people that I was going with that I don't feel right about this. I don't think this is a good idea. 2 hours later, yeah, there was violence. It was a very violent evening. I'm very lucky I got away with this pretty face. It's only because I'm faster than the guy that was trying to beat the crap out of me that I was able to get my car and hightail it down the street as he chased me. And I never had to throw a punch. But I did get a few scars from... He did get his hands on me initially. But anyway, the point of it is don't drink during a full moon. Don't go around people this weekend that are drinking. This is the one piece of advice I will give you that I think you need to listen to. Is this weekend, do not drink alcohol. Do not go in a place where people are drinking alcohol, because it's like a tinderbox, and alcohol is going to be the spark, and unresolved stuff's going to come up. If there's weapons around, it could get very deadly. Okay, not to put any fear out there, just be aware that this is the weekend we got coming up. It's not every weekend it's like this. Some weekends are fine. You can go have a few drinks and the universe will support you having a good time. Not this weekend. Okay? Just take one weekend off from the bars, one weekend off from booze. You know, Cancer is the 4th house, and it's ruled by the moon, and it's generally associated with mother, right? Mom energies. Cancers are great mothering energies. They know how to, like, just tuck you in a bed and give you your soup when you're sick, and that's the typical, you know, mom energy. So rather than going out and getting loaded this weekend, go hang out with your family. Go see your mom. If you're lucky enough to still have a mom alive on this planet, this would be the best Friday to go visit her of the year. Okay? This would be the best time for you to go see your mom. If you can't go see her, video conference her. Call her at the very least. It would be, you know, and then let me know how you made out, because you're going to find that when you do something that the universe supports, magic happens. It's as simple as that. Magic happens. We can use history to prove all of this. That's why I love astrology, because astrology is like been around for thousands of years, and you can literally use and look at the stars and where they were in the planets at a specific period, and you can see how it manifested 100 years ago, 50 years ago, and so you kind of have an idea of what's coming up, don't you? You can use the past to prove the present. It's a beautiful thing. Some of the greatest use astrology, and history doesn't teach us this, because I think, you know, if you're at all woke, you realize that it's in the interest of those that are controlling our reality right now that we are not empowered. And astrology empowers us. So obviously astrology is something that they've been doing their best to keep hidden. But they're using it. I'm a political junkie. I love politics, so I'm gonna use an example from politics that can kind of illustrate this. In the United States, they might call the greatest president of all time, Ronald Reagan. Ronald Reagan was an actor from California who ascended to the presidency of the United States. And, I mean, when you look at the history of the United States, everybody loved him. He was, he did a pretty decent job. And a lot of that was because of astrology. Now, being that he was a Republican and that most of his electoral base was fundamentalist Christians he didn't make a big deal about this, obviously. But it was there. In fact, when Ronald Reagan decided that he was going to run for president, he took the charts of his 3 vice presidential candidates to astrologers and said, which of these 3 individuals is going to make the right partner for me to win? And of course, astrologers said, well, you're an Aquarius, and George Bush is a Gemini, and you're both air signs, and that would be a great combination. So I suppose in a way you can kind of thank astrology for the Bush dynasty, be that good or bad, however your political leanings are. In fact, an astrologer told him on the day that he was shot not to leave the White House. Now, he disregarded that advice, and of course the results speak for themselves. He survived, of course, but word is after that incident that Air Force One was not allowed to leave the tarmac of any airport until they'd consulted with some astrologers. Now think about that. Let's use business. J.P. Morgan, billionaire from way back when, has a quote. He said, "Millionaires don't use astrology. Billionaires do." You think Trump uses astrology? He sure does. And that's why he'll be reelected. And that's why he's got a 95% approval rate amongst Republican voters. And we're not going to get into politics anymore because I know that's a contentious subject, and that's not what this is about. But all of that was said just to help you see why it's important to be aware of the energies that surround us all the time. They might be invisible, but you can feel them. And you're like, this guy's quack. No, I'm not. How? It's easy to feel them. Follow the moon. You see, all the planets are moving at different speeds, right? You've got the moon changing signs every 2.5 days, the sun every 30 days, Mercury every 3 weeks, and it goes right up to what? Like Jupiter's every year, Saturn's every couple years, Uranus is every 7 years it changes signs. So because they're all moving at different speeds, they stack up at different places. And it's pretty hard to notice something that's around for 3 weeks like Mercury. It's doable, but it's harder to do than the moon. Every 2.5 days, the moon goes from one sign to another. That's why Cancers are known to be somewhat moody, because Cancers are ruled by the moon. And so every 2.5 days, they have a little bit of a personality change. And if you've got Cancer family members or friends, I mean, you'll know what I'm talking about, right? Be like, some days they're right on top of the world, some days, but they're just vibing with the energies of the planets. And most of us don't know what that means, so we just think they're moody. But they're following the moon, and you can do the same thing. Go on the internet, find a moon. I'll tell you a good one is Galactic Free Press. That's where I'm at right now, and it shows you a chart on the main page of where all the planets are currently, their degrees at what they're at. And so you just follow the moon. When the moon goes into Aries, you might feel a little bit combative. When the moon goes into Taurus, you might feel like eating some real tasty food. When the moon goes into Gemini, you're probably going to feel like talking. The moon goes into Cancer, you want to cuddle up on the couch and with your family members and watch a Hallmark movie type energy. When the moon goes into Leo, you want to go partying. You want to do a live video and promote yourself on social media. When the moon goes into Virgo, you're cleaning up after the party and you're analyzing how we could do a better party next year. When the moon goes into Libra, you're all about partnerships and relationships and socializing. And when the moon goes into Scorpio, it's about sex and intensity and black and white and boundaries. And when the moon goes into Sag, it's about journeys to distant lands and big picture thinking and positivity. When the moon goes into Capricorn, it's hard work, it's discipline. When the moon goes into Aquarius, it's astrology, right? The moon goes into Pisces, it's spirituality. And you can feel this, and you can notice that you're, more inclined to want to socialize during Libra season, or meditate during Pisces moons, or hang out with your family during Cancer moons. And so as you start trying this out, okay, just try it out. Prove me wrong. That's what I would say. Because if there's even a chance I'm right, it's worth investigating, isn't it? Because I am right. And I'm not saying that to be egotistical, but there's a lot of astrologers that will agree with me. Like, all of them. And there's a lot of them out there. Look at YouTube and how many astrology channels there are. It's a fast growing thing because intelligent people study it and it proves itself. So it's hard to go wrong there, isn't it? So Angela has a question. She says, I'm a Gemini with a Scorpio rising. How will this affect me over the next couple of weeks? That's a great question, Angela. And I can answer that question because my brother is also a Gemini with a Scorpio rising. And I've already DM'd him my advice for what he should be doing. And so as a Scorpio, you have got third house being activated with this Capricorn energy. Okay? What should you do? I'm not going to tell you what to do. Sorry, that's not how it will affect me. Okay, so I'm not going to tell you what to do. But I'm going to say that it's a great time to hang out with your siblings. It's a great time to hang out with friends and socialize for you. Because that's your third house. Just Google third house. And anything that says on that list of what the third house is associated with, do that. You'll find that you'll just find it easy. It'll just be like you're in a canoe and you're going downstream and you don't have to paddle. That's what it is. Sometimes we're going upstream, sometimes we're going downstream. And if you go with the flow, it'll be awesome. You'll just be like, wow, I have never had such great conversations with my family and my siblings and my friends as I'm having. I've never seen such productive experiences coming from that, and that's what you should be doing. Now, from a Gemini perspective, okay, which is your sun, so it'll be hitting. I always like to look at how it affects my first house, so my ascendant, and then go to the sun, because it'll be affecting both of those houses. So it's in your 8th house. What is 8th house energy? 8th house energy is sex, death, taxes, boundaries. It's an intense house, so it's also a good time to do your taxes. Get a great start on your taxes over the next couple of weeks. They got to be done. You're sure you could kick it down the road a couple months, but if you do it now, it's just going to be a heck of a lot easier for you specifically. All right. So for you Geminis out there who are listening, that's my advice. Get started on your taxes. For you Scorpios out there, contact your siblings, contact your friends, your close friends. Hang out with them, spend some time with them. Some amazing stuff will come from that. You'll be shocked. We are living in historic times. And it's just enough to be aware that we're here. That's all it is. And awareness is key. Because once you're aware, you can start using these energies, right? That's what we're here to do. We're here to channel these energies through ourselves and create in this third dimension. So knowing what energies are coming down allows us to channel them properly for maximum impact. I did a post just before the new year, and I asked people, I said, what's your word for 2020? And there were some great words there, Everybody had it. Some people said abundance, some people said health, some people said family. I like to just look at it and say one word that's gonna really epitomize 2020 for me. For me, it was instant. As soon as I thought the question, the word just was in my head and it would not go away. It's impact. What I mean by that is when you know how to use these energies, you can make the maximum impact with them. Moon in Taurus. Angela says, awesome. My moon is in Taurus. What does that mean for me? Well, the moon, I mean, Uranus is going to be impacting you more than anything. Your moon is in Taurus. You got Uranus in Taurus. So your moon, it's going to be noticeable. Maybe not as much as your sun and your moon, but it's definitely going to be noticeable. Your emotions are going to be, you're going to be maybe triggered a little bit this weekend on that front. When Uranus kind of turns direct, you're going to notice stuff happening in that regard. I mean, it's 9th house from the Capricorn stuff. So 9th house is, big picture thinking. It's distant journeys to far journeys. Gemini would be short journeys. Sag is 3rd house, so 9th house is going to be your long journeys. So it's a great time to take a trip. If you were thinking about taking a trip to another province or another country, heck, now's a great time to do it. For Tauruses anyway, and all Tauruses that are listening now. And you're very welcome, Angela. I appreciate that you're watching and supporting. So I think I've said just about everything I need to say about this. Now, the last thing I'll say is, if you really want to take full advantage of this eclipse, it would be a really good idea to go to Planet News by Zoe on Facebook, okay? I'll repeat that. Planet News by Zoe. Now, she is an astrologer that I have been following for many years, and man, she is on point. But a couple days ago, she posted on her public Facebook page, oh, that's a great question. I'll get to that in a second, Amy. She posted I think I have it right here. She posted a post of what we can do to kind of take advantage of of these energies. There's a little ceremony you can do. It involves crystals. It involves, putting them in a jar and that kind of thing, and making some intentions. I would suggest, I'm not going to get into too much, but go to, again, Planet News by Zoe, and check out and give her a like. I mean, her updates are phenomenal. And if you can't find her, I post her in the group Hugs Astrology all the time. I mean, she's one of my staples. So you can just join the group Hugs Astrology, Hugs with a Z, and I'll be, it's lots. I already posted in there, and there's lots more in there, and all kinds of other astrologers too. The best ones that I find, I put them in there, and then that's free to use. So, please join us there. It's a great place. Amy Levitt asks, what book would you recommend to learn about astrology? I'm looking over at my bookshelf and all my astrology books. I'm just like, how do I pick one? But my eyes aren't what they used to be. Yes, okay, I can see it now. It's called The Only Astrology Book You'll Ever Need. Brilliant marketing, brilliant title. It's a brilliant book. I mean, they just make it so simple to learn astrology in that book. Everything you need is in that book. And now, once you finish that book, you'll want to read more, I guarantee you. But you'll have a pretty good grasp of astrology and charts and houses and how they interplay. If you're looking more for relationship astrology, there's a great book called Relationship Astrology. That would be the second book I would maybe suggest to you once you get that base. Because with astrology, one of the greatest benefits that it has is helping us understand why and how certain people affect us certain ways. You know what I mean? Like some people, like you just click with, and some people, I mean, you could try to click with, and they could try to click with you, but it just ain't happening. And if I take your chart and I take their chart and I look at it, I can see why. It's very obvious. There's certain planets that aren't it's not working, but sometimes those two charts are just lined up perfectly, and you just know. It's like, it's just so easy. You know what I mean? And I've used that in my own life, especially, in in sales, right? Knowing your customer's sign can certainly help you explain things in a way that makes sense to them, right? So, for example, if I'm talking to an air sign, I don't really need to use visuals so much. If I can just, they're very much up here cerebral people, right? But if they're or earth sign, let's say they're Capricorn or Taurus or well, not as much Virgo because they're pretty sharp, but I'm going to use more visuals. I want to use more pictures because they're very visual signs, right? If I'm talking to an water sign, obviously it's about their feelings. How do you feel about this? And you want to get that feeling kind of thing going, right? So it can help you interact with people and smooth the interactions a little bit when you utilize that, so that's yeah, the only astrology book you'll ever need. Check that book out. Excellent book, and possibly relationship astrology too. They're both pretty thick books, but they got everything you need in there. Now, further to that, how a lot of people like to learn astrology is YouTube. I mean, that's how I started my journey into it before I got into the books, and I like visual stuff. I'm a visual learner. So once you got your chart, when I do people's charts up for them, and I'll show, this is what I'm looking at, and they'll look at me like, well, what does all that mean? Because it's kind of overwhelming. There's all this stuff, and none of it really makes sense to a person. It's like reading another language. But to learn that language is not as complicated as you might think. If your moon is in Cancer, like myself, it's very simple. You just go on YouTube and you type in moon in Cancer, and there'll be a dozen different astrologers with 5 to 10 minute videos explaining what it means to be born with your moon in Cancer. Watch 3 or 4 of them. Watch them all if you want, if you get the time. And by the time you're past 2 or 3 videos, you'll pretty much understand what it means to have your moon in Cancer. Well, then go to the next one. Where's your Mercury? My Mercury's in Pisces. Watch a few videos on what it's like to be living with the moon in Pisces. And then, of course, an even better way, once you've done this and learned a little bit about yourself, is then to go to those people and friends and family that are closest to you and then do their charts up and find out where their planets are. And then they will make sense to you. And you'll understand why the energy between you and that person is the way it is. Because, some people have their moon in Mercury, their Mercury in Pisces, and some people have their Mercury in Virgo. That's opposite of each other, right? So what does that mean specifically? Well, if you have your moon in Pisces, you're looking at the forest, and you're like, look at the size of that beautiful forest. It's the most amazing forest. It stretches out for miles. But if you're a Mercury in Virgo, you're looking at that forest and saying, I see a spruce tree here and a birch tree over there, and this one is this kind of tree, and that's an elm tree right there. So, Virgo energy zeroes in, Pisces energy zooms out. So you will maybe find communicating, as long as you know, makes it a lot easier. But it can be sometimes challenging to communicate if your Mercuries are in opposite signs, because you think opposite of each other. Do you know what I mean? So that's what's really cool about that. I think I'm pretty much done with my words. I don't know that I have anything else to say to you guys. If there's anything else that you have for questions for me, throw them up there. I'll answer them, and then we will take on off and get our Sunday started. We've got a wonderful day of football coming up. I don't know if I got any football fanatics on here, but we are in wild card weekend, and that's exciting. We're gonna have a great day of football. I hope you all enjoy your Sundays. This is Big Daddy Hugs. Just about to sign off. Before I go, folks, we're going to pull a card from the angel cards. So, I'm going to ask you to put a question in your head right now for something that you want an answer to. And just think about it. I'm going to pull a card. This card's going to be an answer for you. And this answer, take it how you will. This song is called Welcome to the World by my brother Sean. If it doesn't give you goosebumps, I pity you. It's a piece of art unlike anything. That's the one, folks, right there. It wants to come out. You ready? Meditation brings answers. Or prayer. Hey, meditation, prayer, whatever it is that you do. What I did today was I gave you a chance to open up to the wonders of the universe. Now it's up to you to go deeper with it. Like Anthony Robbins says, never leave the space of a decision without taking action towards it. So if something that I said here today tickled your brain to maybe think, well, there's something to this astrology. Shane's making a little bit of sense to me. Meditate. Pray. The answers are all inside you, folks. Okay? Nothing that I'm telling you is new information to you. Your soul already knows this stuff. You're not learning. You're remembering. You're remembering. It's simply remembering. So by meditating, simply stopping your thoughts for a period of time. 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever amount of time you can do it. In my case, it's taken a while to build up. You know, initially when you start meditating, it's hard to go 30 seconds without thinking. But as you get better at it and do it more, and like practice with anything, you get a little bit easier to do. And why it's important, and this takes me down another rabbit path, but I feel like I got to talk about it, so I will. You are not your thoughts, folks. And I know I've said this in a few lives, but there's probably new people watching today. You are not your thoughts. You are the observer of your thoughts. That's huge. I just dropped a bomb on you. I don't know if you heard it. You are a three-part being. Just like the Trinity in the Bible, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. You are a soul. You have a mind and a physical vessel. All three are one. Very distinct, right? Very distinct and separate things. And unfortunately, in our reality, we've become conditioned to believe that we are our thoughts. And you're not your thoughts. And an easy way to know this is to simply close your eyes, stop thinking for a couple seconds. Just a couple is all it takes. And then, obviously, a thought's going to show up. And the question to ask yourself at that moment in time is, who am I? Am I the thought? Or am I the observer of that thought? Right? And that's why meditation is so important, and prayer is so important, because it gives you an opportunity to come to an awareness that you're much more than your mind, you know. And your mind doesn't want you to know this. Okay, your mind, your ego, per se, is an important thing to have. I'm not saying get rid of it, but I am saying it's important to control it, because if you do not control it, it controls you. So by taking a break, taking a space, and not thinking for just a small period of time, allows you to come into the awareness that you are much, much greater than your thoughts. That you are the observer of your thoughts, and allows you to start using your thoughts in a positive and productive manner that serves you and your higher good. And unfortunately, a great many of us are not doing that. You know, we have a thought, it creates a feeling. That's how law of attraction works, right? We all have an emotional guidance system, and that's how our soul communicates with us and tells us whether or not we're on the right path. Have a thought. How do you feel about that thought? What's the emotion that's generated when you have that thought? Is it a good emotion? Does it fill you with bliss, passion, excitement? Then that's a good thought. You should keep thinking it. Does it fill you with jealousy, anger, frustration, sadness, you should stop thinking it right now. Unfortunately, we get addicted to it. We get addicted to that thought, and we just keep obsessing over it, and we get these anxiety feelings, and then we think, I have anxiety, I gotta go get a pill to stop the anxiety. No, you just gotta stop thinking about whatever you're thinking about. Because your soul understands that if you keep thinking this negative thought, it will eventually manifest. So it tries to warn you by giving you these negative emotions. And that's supposed to be a trigger for you to be like, oh yeah, okay, what's the opposite of this thought I'm thinking that's making me feel these horrible things? The opposite of this is that. And how does that feel to think? Ooh, I feel a lot better. A lot better thinking that thought. Because because your soul has this higher perspective. It can see into the future, and it can see what's coming and what you really want to manifest. And it'll reward you with good feelings if you pursue those thoughts. So get out of your head. Meditate. And watch your world just shift. Watch your world change. Meditation brings answers, folks. The answers are there. One more card, and then we're signing off. Oh, okay. We're gonna switch it up, and we're gonna go with a different card. One more card from a different deck, right? The Akashic Tarot deck. This is a great deck. I pulled a card from this the other day. Some pretty big stuff coming up in 2020 from Big Daddy Hugs. I'm not going to get into it just right now, but if you follow me, you'll see it happening. And, it's pretty exciting stuff. I feel like music is a wonderful thing in the background. Alright, one more card and we're going to sign off. What does the Akashic Tarot deck have to say for us, folks? This is another great song by my brother Sean. He's got hundreds of songs on YouTube. Folks, if you haven't been to Sean Wesley White on YouTube and checked out his music, you're missing out. That's all I'm going to say. I've watched my brother practice his musical talent for over 20 years. Daily. Hours and hours a day. Still to this day, I guarantee you, this Sunday, he's going to put in at least 5 to 6 hours on his music. Every single day he's been doing this. For decades! You don't do something that much without getting pretty damn good at it. And I might be a little bit biased, but he's literally my favorite musician. And he will inspire you. And he will soothe your soul. If you'd give him a chance and listen to the music that he has recorded and released. And he does it all. He sings it, he writes it, he records it, he does all the music in it. I mean, he's a one-man show, which is hard to believe when you listen to his stuff. But anyhow, here we go. Final card from the tarot deck. Oh, this is great, guys. You're going to love this one. You're going to love this one. Because this, I keep thinking this thing's over. I said it was going to be a short one, but it's not turned out to be a very short one. I get you. Here it is, folks. Have you folks heard of the Oracle of Delphi? This is a crazy story. Like, I'll give you a very brief history because it's going to blow your mind when I tell you this. So, the Oracle of Delphi was a psychic that lived many, 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 many years ago. I forget the exact time period, but we're going back like 580 or something like that. And she lived in a cave in the mountains. And, people thought she was kind of crazy. Maybe she was. I mean, aren't we all? But she used to write down her visions on little parchments of paper and leave them at the entrance of the cave. And the wind would come and blow them away. But, you know, villagers would come across them and they would save them. And over the years, as these prophecies came true, her reputation grew. And so what she did over time, through these psychic visions, she wrote 3 volumes, which was the history of the future of the world. Okay? Which is basically everything that's going to happen for the rest of time in these 3 massive volumes. So she goes to the king of the time in this country, and this is legit history. I mean, Google this stuff. This is a crazy story. I'm not making this. It sounds like a fairy tale, but it's not. And so she went to the king of the time, and she took the volume 1 with her to the king, and she said, "I have right here the future history of this world. You can do whatever you want with it, but I want." I think it was something like 25% of all the money you have stored up in your vaults. Of course, the king, he didn't really believe her. And so, I think he probably started laughing, and he said no. So what does she do? Well, right in front of the king, in the courtroom, she sets it on fire and burns it in front of him. Which is a tragic loss for all of history. And so what it is, he doesn't think there's any loss, because honestly at the time I don't think the king really believed she was anything other than a lunatic. So she goes back to her cave, she keeps doing her thing, writing her little visions down, sticking them up to the caves. Her star rises, you know, the villagers, the word spreads, people start really, you know, getting on board with it. So finally the king hears enough, he calls her back, he says, "Come on back. Bring the other 2 volumes. Bring the other volume, next volume with you." So she comes back to the king and she says, "This is volume 2. He's like, "Well, I'll give you the 25% of all my gold for this, because I believe in you now and I think you're legit." And what does she say? She says no. She says, "The price has gone up, sir. I now want half of all the gold that you have." Now, I might be off with how much gold she was asking, but it was a substantial amount. I think at some point it was half. To which point the king said, "I'm not giving you half of all the gold I have." To which she replied, "Okay," and she lit the second book on fire and burned it right in front of him. Goes back to her cave. Keeps doing her thing. And finally, you know, she gets so popular and so famous that the king is like, I gotta have that 3rd book. Come on back. You're obviously the real deal." And at this point, she wants something like 75% of the gold, or all his gold, or whatever the number was. And he gave it to her because he was like, "This is legit." You know, this prophecy was a double-edged sword. Because when they know what's coming, they tried to either stop it or benefit from it, and invariably they would end up making it happen. So over a period of time, it became such that only the highest priest of the land was able to look at the book, and even he was only able to go look at this book when it was the most direst of emergencies, when there was a chance that ultimate destruction was going to come upon the entire civilization of their area. Because they realize that this is actually causing a lot more than it's helping. It's causing a lot more harm than good. Eventually they were invaded, and it was destroyed by the invading army. So it's lost to time, but the story is there. And they know which cave she was in. I mean, that history is there. And they've gone back to this cave, and they've tested it. So apparently she sat on a chair right above this crack in this cave. And there was a gas that came up out of this crack. And it was basically magic mushroom gas. Like psilocybin. I can't say it. Anyway, you know what I'm talking about. The active ingredient in shrooms. Psilocybin or whatever. And so she was literally like tripping on shrooms and seeing these visions, and that's how she was coming about these visions. And apparently the servants that she had to help her had to have their tongues cut out because they weren't allowed to repeat what they saw. I mean, it's hardcore stuff. So when I bring this card up, the Oracle of Delphi, my intuitive read on this following up on the previous card, which is meditation brings answers. Meditation brings answers. And then we get possibly the greatest psychic of all time for a second card. What is that telling you? We are all psychic. And you are psychic too, but your mind, your ego, because it's always thinking, blocks your psychic connection. So if you can just stop thinking for a few moments each and every day and tap into your psychic power, you won't need to watch me anymore, will you? I'll be watching you. And isn't that what we're supposed to be doing right now? Isn't that what this hashtag The Great Awakening is all about? Isn't this what was prophesied by the Hopi? It's 222.
222.
222. Isn't this what was prophesied? That we would all wake up and have these superpowers become activated? Casting off the bondage that we've been in, using our superpower psychic skills? Hey, they can't kill you if you know they're coming to kill you. They can't stop you if you know what they're going to do. See what I mean there? You see where I'm going with that? We are so much more powerful than we know. And that's on purpose, right? I mean, the people in charge of this planet right now have made a concerted effort to engage our left brain and keep us thinking, to dumb down our powers by keeping us in constant fear and constant frustration, worried about money, worried about family, worried about how we're going to pay our bills, worried about our jobs, worried about taxes, worried about this and that, and thinking about them constantly to the point that the answers aren't even allowed in. That's why it is. That's why it is the way it is. But now that you know, knowledge is power, right? What did Jesus say? My people suffer from a lack of knowledge. The knowledge is all around us. It's right there. You just got to click on your receiver and boom! All the answers are there. You don't have to go to a psychic. You don't even necessarily have to go to an astrologer. You know why I say that? I know that's something to hear an astrologer say, but having studied astrology for over a decade, what I've noticed is that the people that don't believe in astrology, if they're in their vortex, okay, if they're in their, when I say in their vortex, if they're in their bliss, okay, if they're following their passion, they will feel the impulse to act when the astrology is good. They don't know that the universe is supporting them. They just know, I feel like doing this, I feel good, I'm following my bliss, let's do it now, and it's always perfectly aligned with the stars and the planets. Now, those people that are in a negative mindset, that are taking action based on fear and logic, they'll oftentimes most times act opposite of that. They'll try to, take a vacation during Capricorn season, or, work hard during Cancer season, like they do it backwards, and they're always wondering, why can't I get successful in life? Why is it not work? Why is he doing the same thing as me, or she doing the same thing as me, but I'm not getting the results they are? Well, it's because they're in their bliss, following their passion, acting on the impulses of the universe when it feels right to do. And you're working a plan that you set out 5 years ago to do that doesn't even agree with the energies at all, and you're living from a left brain logical side of your life. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying don't do that occasionally. When you're doing your taxes, you need a little bit of left brain. When you're trying to figure out how much of a tip to leave, you kind of need your left brain. But unfortunately, we've allowed the left brain to be our dominant sphere, and we've kind of tuned out that right brain, the creative spiritual side. And so by getting in the flow, by meditating, you open up and unlock your inner psychic, and then you have all the answers you'll ever need. So it turned into a little bit more than an astrology talk today. But I think, whoever needed to hear this heard it, and I'm going to share this, and I encourage you to share this. Share with whoever you think could use this message. I mean, it's and then if this inspires you, and I hope someday I'll see you on here on live talking about whatever it is that fills your heart with joy and makes your heart sing, because that's the future. Okay, the past was do what you have to do, work hard even though you don't want to, and you'll see a tiny bit of success. But the future energies don't support that. The future energies that we're moving into now support following your bliss. And by following your bliss, the whole world just opens right up to you, folks. It's a magical and amazing experience to have. Carl Jung talked about it when he called it synchronicity. How do you create synchronicity? You create synchronicity by following your bliss. As I'm not sure who said it, but there was a quote that says something along the lines, and I am paraphrasing, that when you take that first step in faith, that the universe just opens up for you. Sometimes you've got to jump out sometimes you just got to make that jump right out into nowhere with nothing to land on, and magic will happen. I mean, the Bible is filled with stories like that. Your life is filled with stories like that. Your friends' lives are filled with stories like that, where they just felt like they had to do something. Logic didn't make sense to do it logically. They didn't have enough money in their job, but they quit their job. They didn't have enough money in the bank, but they quit their job to follow their bliss, and now they're living the life you want to live. But it was scary as fuck to make that decision initially. But something up here, something up there told them it's time. Do it now. And they just followed through. And their whole world just changed in one instant. And it can for you too. So please, I beg you, meditate, pray, spend a little bit of time in the next 5 days going inside to balance out all the work you're going to do. Do a little bit of research on Capricorn and what house it's in for you by finding out your ascendant and then counting down to wherever Capricorn is or whatever house that is. Put all your attention energy in that. If it's family, be family oriented. If it's relationships, be relationship oriented. If it's work, you know what I mean? If it's travel, go for a trip. Do whatever the universe is saying do right now. You'll notice that when you do this, when you find out what house this is in, you'll be like, oh, that's weird. I was already thinking about doing that. It'll be a confirmation for you. It won't be a revelation. If it's a revelation, then I'm full of cocky poop. None of this astrology stuff is real, but that's not what's going to happen. When you take the first step, you don't have to see the whole staircase, Amy says, and it's true. Fear, the acronym for fear is false evidence appearing real. So, it's all fake. I mean, all your fears, it's not real. You just trust. You got to have a little bit of faith. Faith, Jesus said, if you have the faith, I know I'm talking a lot about the Bible, but I mean, it's Sunday, right? Like, there was a time in my life where I would be on a pulpit right now. It's true. We used to have church start at 2 o'clock on Sunday afternoon, and I was the guy who led song service and took up collection and did it all up until the preaching started, and in later years I would even do some of the preaching. So it feels natural for me to kind of be discussing and preaching and doing this, and religion just kind of follows into that. So Jesus said, if you had faith the grain of a mustard seed, you could say to these mountains, be cast into the sea, and they would be removed. That always stuck with me, because in that same verse or chapter, he says, greater things than all the things that I've done you could do if you just had that much faith. I spent a lot of years thinking about that. And then one day I had a revelation. There's no such thing as faith the grain of a mustard seed. Jesus was good at these parables and make you think. There's no such thing as a little bit of faith. It doesn't exist. It's you either have it or you don't. It's a black and white thing, folks. You either have faith or you don't have faith. There is no gray with faith. So when Jesus says, if you have the faith the grain of a mustard seed, he's just saying it in such a way that it doesn't sound like such an overwhelming thing to have 100% faith, right? He says if you only have a little bit of faith, because he understood. I mean, he's talking to people that don't have high school educations, right? Jesus was speaking to people that didn't have schooling. They were just very, uneducated people, and he was trying to bring this higher energy into the planet, and he had to make it make sense. He had to distill it down to the basic common denominator. But don't look at Jesus as if he's some, person that we have to worship. I think that's where Christianity goes wrong. Jesus was somebody who was showing us the way. He said, greater things than all these shall you do. What did he do? He walked on water. Have you walked on water? You can. Have I? I haven't yet. But, Jesus understood that this is all just a hologram. This is all just a virtual reality. And when you awake inside the dream and you realize this is all a dream, you have the power to control everything in the dream. Physics will not apply to you. And this is how people can go from being poverty to being a millionaire. Because they wake up and they realize, wait a second, I have control over all of this. I have faith that I can do something, and I'm going to do something, and then they do it. You can too. Allow Jesus to be an inspiration to you. He's an inspiration to me. And that doesn't have to be Jesus. It can be any spiritual leader that has accomplished great things. But I like Jesus because everybody knows who I'm talking when I say him. And was he God? Well, they asked him that. The disciples asked Jesus. They said, are you the Son of God? And I suggest you read that verse because Jesus answered them. And his answer was profound. He said, and I might be paraphrasing a little bit here, he said, I am in the Father as you are in the Father and you are in me. Exactly what does that mean? Well, let's analyze it. Great question. What grade did school go to back in Jesus' time? I don't even know if they had typical schooling back there, to be frank with you. I think it was only certain people the priest had all the knowledge and the learning, and that's why Jesus went to learn with the religious elders, because the schooling was only through the church, really. Everyone else, you're a peasant, just give us the taxes, grow stuff and give us the food and the taxes and we're happy. That's it. That was your job. You weren't really, it wasn't like it is today. You are just as powerful as Jesus Christ of Nazareth. Just as powerful. There's the mic drop for you folks, because if we can just get our heads wrapped around that. Jesus said, I am in the Father as you are in the Father and you are in me. Basically, that's a real roundabout way of saying we're all gods. That's what he's answering them with. A riddle that makes them think, because Jesus wasn't the kind of guy to give it to you in black and white. He liked to engage the brain and speak in metaphors and parables to kind of make you think. So, we're all gods. And we all have God's power. The thing is, and I heard I'm not sure who, but someone said this years ago. They said, God is like the ocean. Now, if I take a cup and I dip it into the ocean and I pick it up, it's got water in it, right? That cup of water is you and me. Right? Now, you take that cup of water and you go sit it on the shore. How powerful is that cup of water? How powerful is that water? What can that really do? Can I do any damage with that water? Can I affect any change in this world with that water? Positive or negative? No. By itself, by yourself, you don't really have much power. But when you take that water and you add it to the ocean and you connect to all of that, how much power does the ocean have? How much power for change does an ocean have? Dramatic changes. I mean, we can look at hurricanes and Katrina and, Indonesia a few years ago when that tsunami came through. How much power did that have? Right? Now, a cup of water wouldn't have hurt anyone in Indonesia, but the ocean sure did. So my point there is simply, when you connect yourself through meditation, which was the card we pulled first, meditation brings answers. When you connect yourself to that magic and channel it through you, you have as much power as the ocean, as much power as God. So knowing that, you have got everything you need to be successful in 2020. So join me and all my friends at Hugs Astrology. That's Hugz We've got a group where we share astrology every single day, the planets, where they're at, what's happening, from a variety of sources that you can use to help guide your life through 2020. Meditate and know that the answers are already inside you. You just have to shut your mind down for a few minutes, tap into the divine, and channel it through. It's as simple as that. And we complicate things. Why? Because that's how we're trained. That's how we're raised. Things are so complicated, right? No. Keep it simple. Keep it simple. Alright, folks. I think that's it for me. I think we're going to say sayonara. I got a lot to get done today. Football's starting here, and I got some football to watch. So go on out there. Live your best life. Share this video. Share it with everyone you want to share it with. Hey, I don't care. I'm just being me, and hopefully I can inspire you to be you. And together we can make this world the heaven on earth. 1,000 years of bliss. You know, the rapture's supposed to take place in the Bible. We're living in the rapture, folks. The rapture is happening right now. We're all waking up to our divinity. And with our divinity, collectively, we can create a magical paradise. We can do it. There doesn't have to be missiles flying around this planet. There doesn't have to be wars. If we collectively wake up to our divinity, we can change this world into such a magical place that you're not going to want to leave. Nobody will want to leave. And if you knew the power that resided inside you, you'd never want to leave. You'd want to stay here until you're 250 years old, helping change this world into a better place. So that's what we're going to do together, you and I. Joining hands collectively with the divine to usher in a peace, a paradise for all of us. Not just for me, not just for you, but for your family and your friends. Big Daddy Hugs is saying, today, you need to give someone a hug. Today, go on out there, live your best life, give someone a hug, meditate. Love you, folks.